What's going on, guys? Steve here, Detroit Done 313 Friday night. It's getting kind of cold, man. We finally got some fall weather. Just flying solo. That means Will. It's a Friday night. He's out coaching the high school gang. I believe it's their last regular season game, if I'm not mistaken. So I think they only have one loss on the year. So I think they're bound for the playoffs. Last regular season game. Win tonight. Will was saying something about potentially having a home game next week. Wishing them luck. I think they should be kicking off here in about 6 minutes, if I'm not mistaken. So good luck to Will. We'll be back tomorrow with a joint show. Hammer that subscribe button for us. It's truly, truly appreciated. We got a massive giveaway we're trying to do. I got 2 of these Penn Sewell bobbleheads here we're going to be giving away. We got gift cards. We got signed footballs. We got jerseys. We got all kinds of stuff. And it's not just for members. It is for subscribers, too. We'll do a subscribers only show. We'll give you guys a chance to all win a little something. Sorry, guys, we can't give away Ferraris and Porsches, but we try to give back a little bit here and there, whatever we can. What I'm going to be talking about today is, first, I got to say, shame on me. Shame on old Stevie Perkins, because I wish I could take credit for having this guy on my radar, but there's just no video to back it up. But early last week, I did a trade show with the Detroit Lions trading for DJ Turner of the Cincinnati Bengals, with where the Bengals are in the standings, with what they're doing. One of their captains just requested a trade yesterday, Logan Wilson, their linebacker. That's not who I'm talking about today, but I am going to be talking about a Bengals player here in a minute. Shame on me for not. Man, I really wish I could take credit, but in this podcast world, if you don't say it on camera, you just can't steal the thunder. So I really can't. But there's an interesting name being linked to the Detroit Lions, according to CBS Sports. I was reading an article that popped up on Twitter, caught my eye. I read into it. They listed 5 players that were trade candidates for the Detroit Lions, and one of them is a Bengals player. It's not Trey Hendrickson. It's not Logan Wilson. It's not DJ Turner. But it is another kid that I've been following since his college days. And I'll tell you a game that popped into my head while he was in college, before he even got drafted. And I was like, dang, I really could picture this dude as a Detroit Lion. Can't take credit for it. Wish I could. Absolutely not. Shout out to CBS. Cam Taylor-Britt of the Cincinnati Bengals is being linked to the Detroit Lions as a potential trade candidate. There's no rumors. It's just hey, maybe the Bengals are willing to move on for this guy. The Lions have some depth chart issues at defensive back with some injuries and all that's going on. You guys are very familiar with that. Cam Taylor-Britt, 5'11", 200 to 205 pounds, depending on what site you're looking at. Drafted in 2022, round 2, pick 60 of the Cincinnati Bengals out of Nebraska. This kid popped onto my radar. I believe it was J.J. McCarthy. If you guys know me, diehard Michigan fan, go blue, beat those Spartans tomorrow, or today, whenever you're watching. He popped on my radar. I think it was J.J. McCarthy's first true season starting, maybe a second, I can't remember. But we went to Nebraska, and it was a night game, tough to play. They played us incredibly tough, and Cam Taylor-Britt was making that side of the football field damn near impossible to throw the football at. He was making, I think he had like 4 or 5 pass breakups against Michigan in this game. He was tackling in the middle of the field. He was lighting up our tight ends. He was coming up against Blake Corum in the run game and making all kinds of plays. And that's why I started to say, like, I might have to start keeping tabs on this kid and see what's going on, because I really like the way he's playing. Even though it's against my Michigan Wolverines and it was a close game, it took a late Blake Corum long touchdown run, I think, to really kind of spring that one free. So it was a pretty good ball game up until that point. And I've been keeping tabs on him. And then, going down to Cincinnati a couple of weeks ago, remembering like, okay, yeah, like I forgot, he's still here. I thought he got released earlier in the year, if I'm not mistaken. So I can't take the full credit for tracking all of his career, but he's a name that I'm very familiar with. Him being linked to the Detroit Lions excites me. It excites me quite a bit. Now, we've had a talk the last couple days, me and Will, about looking at this team and being pretty impressed with how we're playing as a defense with Kelvin Shepard, the defensive line. Al-Qadim Muhammad's playing great. We got Ali McNeil back. That's a huge boost. Aiden Hutchinson's playing like a defensive player of the year candidate. Tyleek Williams is through the charts on his PFF grades. Ratings according to some other rookies that he was drafted with. So I love our defensive line, our front 7, Jack Campbell, Derek Barnes. Like, our front 7 is solid. Some questions in the secondary, just with some injuries. Terrion Arnold, DJ Reed, we know that they'll be back eventually. We thought that we lost both those guys for the season. That's not the case. But if we can get a guy like Cam Taylor-Britt to come in here and compete. I've seen him play a lot of outside corner and a mixture, a little bit, not an overabundance. I'd have to check the snaps and see like how many, what the percentage is on how many snaps he's getting at nickel, but something that I've seen him do. And I'm going to share his highlight film at the end of this. I'll share a link in the video description so you guys can check it out. But I just see a versatile corner, just a kid who could play outside, inside, not afraid to stuff the run, not afraid to guard some tight ends. I've seen him lock up some top tier players in the league, like DK Metcalf. He had a hell of a game against the Seattle Seahawks. I believe it was last year. He was just step for step with DK Metcalf, and that dude's probably the biggest athletic freak in the NFL. So I love this kid's game. I love his ball awareness. Will's the X's and O's guys, when it comes, especially corners. I feel like that's Will's cup of tea. That's his specialty as defensive backs. But from what I see, and I'm sure Will let me know if I'm seeing something different. He will be very clear to voice that opinion. He tracks the football. Cam Taylor-Britt. He's not one of those guys where he gets his head around at the very last second and maybe knocks the ball down. Like he's tracking footballs, trying to intercept them or knock them away in a more smooth manner. But I just don't see a kid who's out of position too much. I see a kid with great athleticism. Looking at his combine highlights, I watched all of his workout stuff. A sub 4.4 40-yard dash guy, 4.38 official time at the NFL Combine. 5'11", 200 pounds. That's big and athletic for a corner. Not the biggest corner, but I like the size. 5'11", 6 foot-ish, 200 pounds, big, physical, good frame on him, not too light. You know, he got some muscle on him. You're not light in the butt. Man, I wish that I would have put that episode out last week when I was thinking about it. But when I was diving into the Bengals roster, I just felt like DJ Turner was a more tradable piece at the time because I thought Cam Taylor-Britt is the better of the corners out of the Cincinnati Bengals. So I was like, maybe we stay away from that, try to keep this realistic. But now that he's being linked to the Lions, floodgates are open. Let's talk about it. How do you guys feel about this? Again, when everyone's healthy, if you're telling me I got a roster with Amik Robertson, Terrion Arnold. Notice how I mentioned Amik Robertson first, Will. Terrion Arnold, Amik Robertson, DJ Reed, Avonte Maddox, Brian Branch healthy, Kirby Joseph healthy. I'm probably missing a guy here or there, but who's losing a job? I mean, you can only have so many defensive backs on the field. I don't know who it is, but I'm all for bringing Cam Taylor-Britt in. And if he's outside corner with Amik Robertson while DJ Reed's healing up and resting his boo-boos, and Terrion's playing nickel, I'm good with that. If we have to shuffle some pieces around, I'm perfectly fine with any role we acquire in Cam Taylor-Britt. So got to look at his contract too, still on a rookie deal. Again, I thought he was drafted earlier. That's why I thought he wasn't still with the Bengals. But he's on the last year of his rookie contract. So after this season, he will be an unrestricted free agent. So what that means is, if we trade for him, is this going to be a potential rental player, or is this going to be a kid that Brad Holmes thinks he can sign for another 2-3 seasons and get more value for whatever we give up for him? I think that makes it very enticing to acquire a young player who's only 26 years old on a rookie deal, who's not going to be seeking massive money in the offseason, but will want to raise, because right now he's making his base salary is 3.6, cap it of $4 million. So he's probably going to want a couple bucks more than that after the when free agency hits. But I see him as a kid that's very re-signable for 3-4 potential years and locking him up. So what are we going to take to give him, to give the Bengals to get him? Guys, I just don't see a world where Brad Holmes is giving up a first or second round pick for CTB. I just don't see him giving up a first or second round pick for anyone. Now, he does his due diligence. He calls whenever there's a big name player available. We heard the rumors last year with Myles Garrett. He's checked in on Miles Crosby. I'm sure he's checked in on Trey Henderson, TJ Watt when he was going through his contract dilemma. Brad Holmes, until he does it, I'm just going to live in the mindset that it won't be a first or second round pick that we're giving up for a player. Now, draft day, different story. But if we're talking just acquiring a player at the trade deadline like we are here today, I think it's a third round pick or later. I feel like that's just the pool that Brad Holmes likes to swim in. He we saw it last year with Zadarius Smith. The year before that, Donovan Peoples-Jones. Like, it's not going to be one of those Micah Parsons types trade. We're getting a guy who wants 40 million with 7-8 years or anything like that. I just don't see Brad Holmes trading for a player like that. Until he does, that's the mindset I'm going to live in when I'm trying to figure out what Brad Holmes is doing. And good luck, because I have no clue. This is just a guess. But I see a 3rd round pick, 4th round pick, or something later than that for Cam Taylor-Britt, and I think that will get it done. This would be a home run. Again, I wish I would have talked about it last week. This was the guy I had my eyes on. But when I was looking at the Bengals with where they were, just trading for Joe Flacco, trying to keep their season alive, and they beat the Pittsburgh Steelers last week on Thursday Night Football, so they're coming off a win. So with where they are in the standings, still don't know if they're selling. Are they holding on until Joe Burrow comes back? Still not 100% sure. But if there's a player that I would love to have from the Cincinnati Bengals that's realistic, that's not Trey Hendrickson, it's Cam Taylor-Britt. He would have been my choice over DJ Turner. Wish I'd had said that last week, but again, can't take credit for something if I don't have it on video. But let me know what you guys are thinking. There were some other names listed by this CBS list too. There was a guard and a left tackle. I can't remember who they mentioned, but I just don't see the Lions trading for an offensive lineman that's not going to start. So as long as we are where we are right now, healthy-ish. I know Taylor Decker's got some boo-boos going on. Just my mindset, trading for offensive linemen, they should be playing. I don't think you trade for someone and then sit them on the bench as a just in case or an emergency guy. Now, when we get to the offseason, we'll probably be diving into some centers, some tackles, some right tackles, maybe having to talk about that Penei Sewell switch over to left if Taylor Decker decides his football days are over. I'm not hinting at that, but he's been injured the last couple of years. So we'll just have to see. So they mentioned a couple offensive linemen, and they mentioned Jalen Phillips, the defensive end from the Miami Dolphins, who we talked about last week too. I'll tag that video at the end. So I'm not going to fully dive into that for a second time because we've already spoke our piece about it. So I'll tag that video if you guys want to check that out. Cam Taylor-Britt, that would be a 10 out of 10 for me. Just bring in some depth, a guy who's versatile, athletic, young, could get for a 3rd or 4th round pick, I think. Ensure this secondary, because look what our secondary did with the Legion of Whom, we're calling them, last week against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. A bunch of guys who were off practice squads and didn't have a lot of game reps, and that whole secondary played their absolute minds out. So getting some guys healthy, that same game plan with Kelvin Shepard, getting a step up in talent, adding a guy like Cam Taylor-Britt as a depth piece, someone you can shuffle around, I would absolutely love it. I think it's a bigger need than defensive line. I really do. With how the defensive line is shaping up, how they're playing, we're just absolutely stacked. And I know there's a lot of channels out there that post the Trey Hendrickson videos every week. I know there's Max Crosby rumors heating up with his situation and possibly going to Dallas Cowboys. And if he becomes available, are the Lions going to swoop in? I just think that it's sexy to talk about. It's fun to imagine 2 players like that in Hendrickson and Myles Garrett, or not Myles Garrett, Max Crosby, I'm sorry, playing alongside Aiden Hutchinson, but that's just so expensive. And I just don't think it's a need. Is it a step up from Al-Qadim Muhammad? Massively, absolutely. But I don't think it's a glaring need on this team. Maybe I'm crazy. I don't know. Just do it in my office. Leave it in the comments. Let me know what you're thinking. Again, Will and I will be back tomorrow night, joint show. We'll figure out what we're talking about. Leave it in the comments, guys. We'll be back later with another.